Okay, so 8-3, solving radical equations. There's a step-by-step instructions right here, and the most important step, of course, is the first one. Get the radical by itself. Just like you would get x by itself to solve, we're going to get the radical by itself. Then these will make more sense as we get to it, but raise to the power to cancel out the radical and solve for the variable. A couple side notes. Even root cannot equal a negative number, so if that happens, we have no solution. Also, when two radicals are in one equation, we have to check our answer. So in these examples over here where we have two radicals, we have to go back and check after. Okay, so starting with the first one, of course it starts out simple. We just have square root of x equals 10. So to get rid of this radical, we just square it. But whatever you do to one side of the equation, you also have to do to the other. Ooh, it's blurry. So in squaring this just becomes x, and then 10 squared, 10 times 10 is 100. So the answer is 100. Yes. Sure. Okay, yeah, last, sorry. Okay, number 2. Same idea. We are going to square both sides to get rid of the radical. So it'll look like this. X plus 3 squared equals 15 squared. And these are actually really straightforward and simple. So we square this, we just get x plus 3. And then 15 squared, you could plug that into a calculator and get 225. And then we just solve for x. Now we have a cubed root, but the same idea applies over here. To get rid of this cube, we have to cube both sides. So cubed root of x, we're just going to cube this, and whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So then this just becomes x, and then this would be 4 times 4 times 4, which comes out to 64. I paused it while I was waiting for it. Yeah, we're good. Number 4. Okay, so now they're bringing some other components in. In order to do what we just did, we need to have the square root all by itself. So we are going to... Jeez, y'all. Number 4. We have to get the radical all by itself, and we're going to do that by dividing both sides by 2, so that 2 cancels out here. So divide this by 2, and divide this by 2. This cancels, and we have cubed root of x equals 6. Okay. No? Okay. Now we cube both sides to get rid of the radical. So this becomes x. This 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. Okay, so just like with the last one, we need to get the radical by itself before we get rid of it. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. Then from here, divide both sides by 4. Square root of x equals 1. And then square both sides to get rid of the radical. And we get x equals 1. Okay, number 6. So we got the 4th root. We can just 4th root both sides. And then this becomes 2x plus 1 equals 3 to the 4th root. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. Then solve for x. Question right here. Jot it down. Okay, next. So from here we need to get the radical by itself first, so we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And then to get rid of the radical, we square both sides. And then solve for x. So moving up to the top of the next page, write down the problem if you don't have it down already. Okay, so in the last ones we were trying to get the radical by itself, but not really realistic when you have 2 radicals. So for this one, we're actually going to get radicals on each side of the equation. So I'm going to take this part and just move it onto the other side. So we're going to do plus 3 square root of x minus 5 and put it on the other side. So it'll look like this. Square root of 4x minus 10 equals 3 square root of x minus 5. Then what we're going to do is square both parts, both sides. So square this, and then we're going to square this whole thing. Okay, so this squared will just be 4x minus 10. And then for this, you just have to distribute this squared to both of those terms here. So 3 squared would be 9. And then you have x minus 5, like that. Then from here we solve for x. So you're going to need to distribute the 9. Wait, did I do too fast? You good? 4x minus 10 equals 9x minus 45. And I'm just solving for x. Now that we have x, we have to go back and check it and make sure it works in the original equation. So because it has the 2 radicals, we have to do this check process. So we're going to take 7, plug it back in, solve it, see if all this equals 0, and if it does, then that is our solution. So over here, we'll just write check. And then I'm just plugging 7 into the original. Then I solve. Next one. Okay, so for this one, same idea. We have a radical on each side. So at this point, we're just going to square both sides. Ooh, maybe I should write that out. Okay. X minus 10 squared equals 1 minus square root of x squared. what will this look like? This squared will just be x minus 10. Over here we actually have to FOIL though, so it'll look like this. And so we FOIL this out. So I try to get x's on the same side, that just cancels. Then divide by -2. I get square root of x equals 11 halves so far. Then I need to square both sides. Um, 11 halves would be 5.5. 5.5 squared equals, yeah, x equals 30.25. That's what you said, right?
25.
Oh, you got 25? Where did I get 30? 5.5. Let's see.
Isn't it just 5 squared?
11 divided by 2. Yep. 5.5 squared, 30.25. Just do that. You could leave it as a fraction if you wanted, and you could have 121 over 4. That's another option, but I like working with decimals better. Okay, so we get x equals this number. Then because we have the two radicals, we do have to check our work. So the check process is where we just take this and plug it back into the original. See, square root of 20.25 is 4.5. And then this part over here, I'm just plugging it into my calculator. 1 minus square root 30.25. And it comes out to negative 4.5. So therefore, these do not equal. So there is no solution. Okay, so for number 10, we only have one radical. We do need to get that radical by itself before we solve. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. And then to get the 4 on the other side, divide both sides by 4. And then the last step, well, not last step, but then we cube both sides to get rid of the radical. And 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, yeah. And then we solve. And x equals 1/2. Yeah. Okay, so that is the lesson. You'll use a laptop to do homework 8-3 on Schoology. It's only 5 questions, so take your time with it. And then Khan Academy. So you can get a laptop, get started. I'll enable the homework as well.